What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Backup Fantasy Sports. It is Wednesday, November 1st. Happy November. My name is Ewan, and on today's episode, we are going to get into some F1 fantasy with a Brazil Grand Prix preview, the final weekend of a triple header that has been wacky, wild, huge swings in F1. Some seasons have ended, some seasons have been made, but it is the final race of the triple header and 2 races to go. It's coming to an end. Starting to get a little bit sad, but we are going to get right into it here because with so many races, there's a lot of content to consume. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. So let's get right into it here with a quick review of the Mexico Grand Prix. It was a crazy weekend. Checo Perez. Oh, why did I go back to trusting you again? A lot of F1 managers were asking themselves that question. But Ferrari front row lockout on Saturday, which was a surprise to everyone, including Ferrari, did not last. It lasted about 500 meters until the first turn, and then Max kind of went away off into the distance. But good job by him. Checo Perez with a very ambitious maneuver in turn one that did not come off. And yeah, left the home crowd quite disappointed. But Lewis Hamilton moving up from 6th to 2nd in the race. Charles Leclerc getting his podium, a lot better than his 6th place finish and then disqualification in Austin 2 weekends ago. Lando Norris had a terrible qualifying Q1 exit for him, but charged through the field several times and ended in 5th place. And that got him driver of the day, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Mexico Grand Prix facts and stats. Optimal team here, Mercedes and Ferrari, thanks to Checo Perez's DNF. It was not a Red Bull day for them. Norris 2 times. He was the leading point scorer. Then Verstappen, Hamilton, Tsunoda, and Ricciardo as AlphaTauri had a great weekend. Lots of reports coming out before the weekend, during the weekend, that AlphaTauri had kind of made specifications for this track. Their engine runs a lot better in the higher altitude compared to other teams. So they put a new engine in Tsunoda's car. He was going to start from the back of the grid on Sunday, and it worked out. Massive points for him. Ricciardo had a great qualifying and a great Sunday despite dropping down the field a little bit, but good job by AlphaTauri. Positions gained, Lando Norris with a career high 12 positions gained on Sunday, Tsunoda with 6, Alexander Albon and Esteban Ocon with 5. Overtakes, it was Norris with 16, Tsunoda with 14, and Pierre Gasly with 10. And then fastest pit stop, Ferrari with 10 points, AlphaTauri with 5, and Red Bull with 3. That optimal team up there is based on a $140 million budget, but it actually only costs $134.1. Lando Norris, driver of the day, nailing the Landoing. Terrible pun title by me there, but qualified 19th. He finished 5th in the race, 12 positions gained, like I already talked about, 16 overtakes, 48 fantasy points. That beats his previous high from last weekend in Austin. It's his highest score of the season. 4th driver of the day award, back to back for him. That's the most on the grid. He's averaged 30.6 points per race since the summer break, and that is second behind Max Verstappen at 47.6. Looking at my team, the disaster continues. The triple header has not been kind to Alonso, as I have plummeted in rank and I'm clinging to the top 10K, but it is what it is. But we are here at Backup Fantasy Sports. I'm going to try and help you finish as high as possible despite my miserable triple header. Continuing 250 points here. I had 2 transfers. I did not use a chip. I transferred out Carlos Sainz for Sergio Perez. And I brought in, I flipped that. I brought out Tsunoda for Daniel Ricciardo. Did not go according to plan. Obviously, Sergio Perez had other ideas. His excuse of, I had to go for it. I couldn't forgive myself. Well, it may cost you a seat in Red Bull next year, Sergio. So I hope that played into your thinking, which not an F1 gossip YouTube channel, but like if you're thinking that way, does that mean you are retiring after the season? If you're like, I got to win my last home race kind of deal, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see once the dust settles on the 2023 F1 season. Speaking of some team news, it does look like Logan Sargent is going to be with Williams for 2024. So the American will stay on the grid for 3 more American races and next season. So good job by him, I guess. Race info for the Brazil Grand Prix, Interlagos, as it's so familiarly known by racing fans here. 4.309 kilometers long, 71 laps again, just like Mexico, 15 corners, 2 DRS zones, and the first Grand Prix was here in 1973. Mercedes typically runs very strongly here, as evidenced by the 2022 results. Qualifying was K-Mag, if you remember correctly, it was very rainy, but Haas went out on dries or slicks and they got their time in, and everyone else is on wets. And Magnussen ended up beating it out and finishing on pole. Wasn't a great weekend for him overall, as he did DNF on Sunday's race, but it was a sprint race again in Interlagos. So George Russell claimed his first sprint win with Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, and Sergio Perez behind him. And then on Sunday, it was a little bit of chaos. George Russell won the race kind of comfortably. Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen had some contact early on in the race, but Lewis was able to charge back through the field. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc had a good day for Ferrari. Max and Checo, not so much for Red Bull. But this could mean that it's a great time, if you still have the Limitless chip, to use that chip. If Mercedes and Ferrari are going to do well, you can double up on Mercedes, double up on Ferrari drivers with Max Verstappen, and then choose your constructor between Red Bull, Ferrari, or Mercedes. Definitely something to consider. The only problem is we've only got one free practice, so you're going to have to make that decision quite quickly. Because the schedule is Friday, there's a free practice. Qualifying is on Friday, so that's when our lineups are going to lock. Saturday is a sprint shootout, then the sprint, and Sunday is the classic Grand Prix. Lineup locks for this week: 5 p.m. in Brazil, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 4 p.m. on the East Coast. Now, in Europe over here, we fell back. We autumned back with our clocks on Sunday. So I'm hoping those times are right, because I did actually check them. And that would say that I'm quite bad at reading time and time zones and stuff. So hopefully those are accurate. I'm pretty sure they are, but just double check on the F1 fantasy game to show when your lineup is going to lock before Friday. That way you don't get caught out. Chip strategy here. Actually, let's do the weather first. Let's go check what's going on in Brazil this weekend. Here we go. Perfect. All righty. Let's go here to daily. Let's go check it out. Current weather, rainy. The thing about Brazil is that it can throw in some weird weather, just like last year with Kevin Magnussen's pole. It does happen, so you got to watch out for that. So let's see. Friday, thunderstorms, rather cloudy, breezy, and warm, humid in the morning. Watch for a strong thunderstorm in the afternoon. So that is exactly when qualifying is going to be. So we will have to keep our ear to the ground, our eyes on Twitter to see what kind of weather we are in for during qualifying. Saturday is supposed to be dry for the sprint, and Sunday is also going to be dry, 73 degrees. So the main racing should be quite warm, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Friday goes and if that shakes up the grid a little bit. 40% chance of rain there. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out on the weather for that weekend, or at least for Friday, and then we will see how it goes there. Let's go back here. So chip strategy. So this is it's getting down to it. We've got 3 races left. What are we going to do this weekend? So I don't think a lot of people have Limitless and extra DRS left. However, if you have one of those chips left, this is the weekend to use it. Even if it's extra DRS, I know it's kind of with that weather I just showed, it could be kind of sketchy, but this is your final chance to maximize the use of that chip. So I would certainly deploy that if I had it. I would put it on max, and I'd probably put the extra DRS on. I would try my best to bring in a Mercedes or Ferrari driver this weekend, especially Mercedes, as they have traditionally looked quite strong here at this track. As for me, I have the wild card and the autopilot left. I was thinking about using autopilot this weekend, with the uh, the weather and unpredictability of Brazil. But with my transfer plans, I may need to activate the wild card. I may save the autopilot for Vegas with an unknown track. Uh, but the chip column here that I have on the right, this is kind of, if you have any of these chips left, this is maybe where I would think about using them. No negative in Vegas. I saw some thoughts online and I kind of agree with them that with the unpredictability of what's going to happen in Vegas, random things could happen. Could be some crashes, unfamiliarity with the track. Uh, no negative would be a nice spot to use that there. And then autopilot or wild card in the last race. If you're looking to shake your team up, gain some rank, just make things crazy. You never know what could happen in a one-off race there. And that's where I'm kind of at with my chip strategy. So I'll probably use one this weekend, just kind of deciding which one I would like to use for the Brazilian Grand Prix. But let's get into my transfer thoughts here. Got them ready to go. Here we go. So here's my squad. 1.9 in the bank. Hasn't been pretty, but we will continue on with 3 races left. So I said on Monday, I tweeted where you can follow me at you in or you out on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it at this point. This is my first thoughts. They were going to be Lewis in and Mercedes. So that would be a simple 2 transfers, and I could use the autopilot quite easily. However, I'm not super sold on Oscar this weekend, and with me kind of being down in the bottom of the 10K, there are other things that I've been thinking about doing here. So, like, I could go with Alex here. It's not going to be enough to get me up to any of the other constructors. I need a solid 8 million here. So how would I get all the way up to like a Ferrari? I would have to get Alex down here to a Yuki, probably. Is that going to get me enough? 23 million. I think I'd still be, yeah, 0.9 short there. So it's going to be tough to kind of get anyone else in. Yuki would have to be down to a 7 million guy at least here. So I could even get Joe Guan Yu. Nico, not feeling good about him either. Oh, yeah. So Haas, probably not going to work, but that would get me enough to kind of really shake things up. But I would say I don't think it'll be for me, but if you are kind of, if you're short of money, I don't mind sacrificing Oscar this weekend. He has been fantastic for us most since Austria for sure, but it's been a tiny bit underwhelming here. 14 points, negative 20, 56 in the sprint in Qatar. So that was great. 34, 24, 15. But just on Sunday, Lando kind of really schooled him, I would say, especially with um, tire dag and just kind of, I mean, it's Oscar's rookie season, so you don't want to be too hard on him, obviously. But yeah, if you want to get rid of Piastri, I don't mind that. If you need to make like a kind of get rid of some cash to get up to a Lewis or a George, that's certainly something that I would think about. Here, you could also, if you don't want Lewis, if you want to go with George, if that's a more um, feasible thing for you. Oscar 19.6. I still don't think that's going to be enough for Carlos. Yeah, just short. But there are people who have more budget than me. So you could definitely get rid of, you could go from a Perez to a George and a Mercedes and kind of really switch things up here. I can't even go any lower. I do want double Mercedes as of right now. I think that's where I'm going to be sitting. But George and Mercedes, I could also get rid of Daniel. That would give me up there too. But I kind of like how AlphaTauri is looking. So I think this is probably where I will be heading into free practice 1.3 left. Like I said, getting rid of Checo and that probably means he'll have a great weekend, as it always seems to happen with this game at this point. But this will be more fun to cheer for. I'm kind of looking for ways to be different from the field. This might become templatey by the weekend, but Red Bull could always punish us quite hard. Let's see, they're 54% owned in the game, so 13% for Mercedes. So definitely something to think about there. But this is where I'm kind of sitting right now. McLaren triple up still, despite my doubts about Piastri right now. But Verstappen, Lewis seems quite strong, and I do enjoy that kind of team composition at the moment. Let me know what you would do in your squad for the Brazil Grand Prix in the comments below, where you can like and subscribe to the channel. I would super appreciate that. Upcoming races here. It's 2 races to go. This is it. November 16th through the 18th, Las Vegas Grand Prix. That race preview will come out a little bit earlier because it is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday schedule in F1. So don't get caught out there either. It's not a sprint weekend, so nothing extra to worry about like a Thursday lineup lock, but it will be a Friday lock again, but we will have 3 practices of data to go off of there. And then the following week, Abu Dhabi season finale. There'll be a wild time, lots of things to gain with ranks and positions, but I was kind of mad at myself that I went back to the template last week, despite having a bad Austin Grand Prix thanks to the disqualifications. But with the template, it felt safer. I thought Sergio was going to have a good weekend at home, but once again, just not breaking my way at the end of the season here. But that's okay. I hope it is going well for you guys. One more time on the lineup blocks here. November 3rd, this Friday, local time, 3 p.m., UK time, 6 p.m., and 2 p.m. Eastern time. But if you are enjoying the race previews, I would love a like and subscription to the channel. Really appreciate it. Love all the support so far this season. I'm also doing some YouTube Shorts content with some 3 pit stop reactions after each race. I think I'm going to try and get that out on Sunday night this week, since the Grand Prix is a little bit earlier this week for myself in Germany. But like I said, let me know what you're thinking for your team construction in the Brazil Grand Prix this week in the comments below, or follow me on Twitter and chirp at me there. I would love to interact with you on that app. But once again, thanks for listening. Good luck in Brazil, and I will talk to you next time.